Hello and welcome to this week's Green Pass Gaming Sunday podcast. I am your host Flap, and we have a fantastic show lined up for you guys tonight. Very, very pleased to have a special guest along. It's been a long time coming. He was one of our early guests and hasn't been on the show pretty much since, really. I have no idea why, but thankfully he's on the show with us tonight, and we'll get round to the panel in a bit. But chat. We've got a great show lined up, as I say. It's been quite a nice weekend in the UK, nice and sunny. And it's actually a national bank holiday tomorrow. So anyone in the UK, we don't have to go to work tomorrow. So hats thrown in the air for that. Got a great show. Like I say, we're going to be going through the Dying Light 2 gameplay footage, the Horizon Forbidden West gameplay footage, and the Far Cry 6 gameplay as well. What a week this has been. I wasn't expecting those, to be honest, and it's fantastic that we're actually able to see those finally and get our teeth into those. E3's just kind of around the corner, a couple of weeks away. I think everyone is starting to get really excited now. And with the events that we've had on YouTube showing off games and stuff, it's all starting to feel very real. And we've got some news that Xbox are potentially going to be showing off at least 5 AAA games. And we'll be going into that, what we think they might be, what we think they might not be, on all of those good things. Really love to get you involved in that chat. PlayStation 5, is its game prices sustainable in this day and age with Xbox? This is a topic we've done several times, to be honest, but got a few slight twists on this. And obviously now being a PlayStation owner, spending that £70 on games is really painful. So I thought we could just go there and just sort of see how that's panning out for Sony and whether it's sustainable, like I say. And we're also going to squeeze in a cheeky little topic that, funny enough, Mr. Tushi posted earlier about, and that is how they've managed to actually shrink the console version of Flight Sim from over 170 gigs down to about 83, I think it is. Phenomenal. So we're going to be going into that. But without any further ado, let's get straight over to our panel and introduce everyone. And first up, as always, welcome to the show, my friend Puxley. How are you?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm doing very well, thank you very much. As I mentioned before we went live, a little bit sunburnt on the arms from when I went out yesterday, but I'm doing okay now. Just been after sunning up. I've got a beer next to me. It's just, as you say, it's a Sunday bank holiday, so no work tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the show. And one thing I will also bring up as well is, you may all remember in the chat that a couple of weeks ago we held a Watch Dogs Legion giveaway, which Pixel Slapper won. He has, however, decided to donate it back to us, so we are also going to be doing that giveaway again tonight. I've been thinking of a new phrase for you to say in the chat, but perfectly honest, I think I'll keep the rules the same as we did before. So if you would like to be within a chance to win, if you just type in pick me in the chat, I will put your name on my list and run it through a random name selector later in the show. And good luck to you all, I guess.
Excellent. Yes, it's going to be good to give that away. And unlike what we posted last time, Matt Diet's actually mentioned that although it's a UK code, you can actually download this game anywhere in the world, I believe. You just need to log into the Xbox UK store, redeem the code with your login details, and it should be on your Xbox. Matt, I believe you're in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's how it works. So that's pretty cool. And that means everyone can join in. So if you'd like a copy of Watchdog Legions for your Xbox, yeah, stick pick me in the chat, and we will pick one lucky winner at random later in the show. Let's move on. Let's go next to the GPG crew. Let's go to Luke Steele. Sounds like you've had a busy week at work, my friend. How's things? Have you had much chance to do some gaming?
Yeah, it's been very busy the last couple of weeks, including today, sadly. Gaming wise, have I done much? Not really. I mean, apart from the little bits I've managed to record, which you're seeing on screen now a little bit, actually. I've not really had much of a chance to play anything. Played a bit of Dead Space, and then Metro and Doom, but that's been about it. Just kind of got a holiday coming up soon, so I'm just looking forward to having that, and then also E3 and all the news, and Ratchet and Clank comes out soon, and that'll be awesome.
Fantastic. Like I say, we've got your gameplay footage here. So this is Doom Eternal?
It is. This is the Ancient Gods DLC Part 2. This is on PC. I've already finished it, but I thought that it was supposed to be Dead Space 2, but I had all sorts of nightmare inducing feelings with that footage. And it was just not working at all for some reason. It just doesn't play well with shadow play. So so I just thought I'll whip out old reliable Doom Eternal. So yes, this is on the PC max settings, about 120 FPS usually. But obviously you won't see that on the stream, but
yeah. I wonder if YouTube will actually step up to actually broadcast in 120 frames at some point.
it'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be nice just so you can kind of appreciate things like this. So yeah, there's that, and then there should be some Metro Exodus footage, I think, at some point.
Yes,
so.
we've got some Metro Exodus and some Second Extinction with actually me, Pucks, and yourself playing. So that's pretty cool. So that'll be coming on the show later on. Scott, SX2, how are you, my friend? How is sunny Newcastle? Is it all good up there?
Yeah, it's lovely up here, mate. Thank you very much. It's been, if anything, it's almost been a little too hot for me. I'm obviously being from the north. I'm used to a little bit of colder weather. So it's been north of 20 degrees, what it feels like this weekend. So, but very, very nice. Just checking out this Doom footage actually, and I've not actually had a chance to give Doom Eternal a shot recently. It is on my to-do list, but this footage looks bloody awesome. I do remember hearing a little bit like negative comments around Doom Eternal when it came out, but looking at this, it just looks like Doom on sort of steroids or something from what I'm seeing. So it looks awesome.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. It's a fantastic game. Yeah, I don't remember hearing any criticism, if I'm honest, but yeah, I love this game.
Yeah, the DLC as well. The DLC just ramps everything up. It just assumes you're really good now at Doom, and it says here's a load of enemies in different configurations, and also introduces enemies that you can only actually kill with certain weapons. So it's kind of this weird like dance that you've got to have as you're playing, and kind of adjusting all the time. It's really brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, and whoever decided it was a good idea to whack a grappling hook on a shotgun's a bloody genius.
Yes, the most
there is something.
Weapon.
Yeah, I was about to say there's something deeply satisfying about pulling that move off.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, and last but by certainly no means least, Mr. Tushi, welcome back to the show, my friend. Always great to have you on. How the devil are you, and what have you been playing?
Oh, thanks for having me on. Living the dream. I'll be back to the comment before. I think it's my 5th or my 6th time on this show so far.
Is it? Wow.
We came on quite a lot when you first started. I think it was.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to say you was one of our first few guests. Was this the first podcast you'd done? Did I remember that correctly?
I think it was my first the biggest one I'd done. I think it was. I think if I remember correctly, it was at 36 subs on the first one.
Really? Holy moly!
That's when we done the push to get you to 100, weren't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, wow.
It's been
back in the VJ days as well.
Yeah, you're coming up to nearly 1,000 now as well.
We're getting there. It was 842, I think, earlier, something like that. Fantastic.
Anyway, what I've been playing, apart from the community game stuff, the main game I've been playing lately is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It's my first. It's my first time being in this franchise, and all I can say is probably the best game I've ever played. Honestly.
Wow! Really?
I praise.
Because I've completed the first one. I didn't do all the side quests, but I think it's about 25 hours I've done in the game. But it's the only game that's ever got that feeling like Combat Evolved sort of gameplay, and that engagement sort of feeling. But I'm currently 35 hours into the second one, and I'm absolutely loving that more than the first one.
I can't believe you've not played them before. That really surprises me.
I own them. I own Andromeda as well, but I've never played them.
Wow.
It's just one of those games in the backlog.
Yeah, but to be honest, it's absolutely served its purpose then, isn't it? Because although you own them, I think these games are out there to appeal to a newer audience, aren't they? And the fact that you're loving it, hopefully, lots of others will too, and the next one in the series will be along at some point. Well, this generation, I guess.
Yeah, because even up to the run up to this game coming out, it was about 2 months. I done a deal with myself that because I'm a bit of addicted for buying games and stuff.
I've heard.
I've went 2 months without buying a game. I thought I'm not buying nothing because it would just go in the backlog. Because all I've done was concentrate on a few backlog games, and just didn't want to buy nothing until this one came out, and that's what I've done. I've still not bought anything since. Tell a lie, I bought Biomutant, but
Oh, did you? Have you had a chance to play it yet?
I've had a quick 10 minutes, but it's going in the backlog till I finish Mass Effect, or
Yeah.
else I'll just drift off. So.
Well, it sounds like it might need a bit of a patch as well. The Biomutant game, it's been getting mixed results, that one, but yeah, that's interesting.
Right so far.
Yeah, it kind of was on my radar, and then kind of wasn't, I guess, to be honest. But if it comes to Game Pass, again, essentially, if it was free in inverted commas, I would absolutely play that game. But I don't know if I want to spend the money on it just yet. While there's other things to be spending money on, I guess, and with E3 just around the corner. But fantastic! Well, it's fantastic to have you on the show, my friend. As always, always a pleasure. So, chat. Wow, we've got some fantastic chat. I know I say this every week, but I absolutely love seeing so many familiar names in the chat. It's great. I will just do a very quick roll call, and again, as always, if I don't mention your name, I do apologise. It's not because we don't appreciate you being here. It's just in the interest of time, I guess. So let's go through this. We've got Pyro, Matt Dyer, Museko Parks is here. Thank you very much. She's no elite. I saw Baldman Gamer, Adam C, Fugly. Let's go through the list. UK Dazrus, excellent. Hansverse Senior, Leon Kreckles, brilliant. Thank you, Dragon Wolf. Fantastic to have you guys along for the ride with us. And without any further ado, let's get straight into topic one, and let's go to you first, Scott, if you don't mind shaking it up a little bit. So this week we saw many gameplay reveals, didn't we? I wasn't aware that these were coming, if I'm honest. So these came a little bit out of the blue for me because a little bit like Luke, I've been smashed at work lately, so my head hasn't necessarily been fully in the gaming news. So when things like this crop up, it's an absolutely pleasant surprise. And Dying Light 2, what did you make of the reveal and the gameplay, Scott? Because I will lay my hand on the table, my cards. Every time I see this game, I actually get more and more excited for it, and I appreciate that the footage we saw is probably running on a 380, 390 PC graphics card, but it looked absolutely stunning. What's your take on the game so far?
Yeah, I agree completely there, Flap. I think it really, really looked awesome. Did you play and enjoy the first game out of interest?
No, I haven't. You know, and this is going to be one of our confessionals. I'm giving this away, but one of our confessionals topics one day, and I really enjoyed our confessionals last week. And if you didn't hear that, please tune in because it's quite good.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Do that. But one of my confessionals is going to be games that you've come in late in the series, either the second or third one, that you've then had to go back and play the first ones off. And this could potentially be one of those for me.
Yeah, well, if you do get a chance to play it, I would highly recommend playing it. I mean, it's the second game isn't out until December, but it really is a really fun game. The single player is just fantastic to play, and it's got some cool multiplayer elements as well. I've played a little bit of co-op with friends in the past. Now, admittedly, I was a little bit nervous and worried about this game, to be honest, because we've heard some rumors of quote unquote development hell for this game, which obviously Techland came out and denied. But there have seemingly been some changes at that studio as well. So to actually see the game, and not only just see the game, but see it looking so damn good, was really, really pleasing to me. I'm honestly still a little bit skeptical of a December release date. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out maybe in a couple months' time and say, oh, look, we've maybe need a little bit more time. Obviously, December is still a long way away, so it seems quite early to commit to a date. Basically 6 months out at this point. But I thought it looked fantastic, and I'd kind of forgotten how fun just the I guess the combat and the gameplay of Dying Light was until sort of rewatch that footage, and you see just some of the parkour elements that they've got in there, which it's just so fast and fluid, and just some of the things that they've got, like you can boot a zombie and he'll just go absolutely flying for miles. It's just really fun and silly to play a lot of the time. But if you remember, Dying Light 2 was actually revealed. When was it? I think it was E3 2019. And they had
a long time ago.
Yeah, and they had that. I think it was behind closed doors, and they had that gameplay footage that they showed where your decisions seemingly impact certain elements of the game. So you side with one particular faction, I guess, and that could maybe open up or close one area of the map, depending on the decisions that you made. It's obviously good to hear that they've stuck with that. Part of me was concerned that maybe they were being a little bit too ambitious, but it was just fantastic to see it looking as good as I remember the original Dying Light being. So I'm really excited to check it out in December. Like I say, still a little skeptical of whether it's actually gonna make this year or not. But I thought it ultimately looked fantastic. If I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I and again, this was another one for my confessionals. I don't normally enjoy games that have factions in them. If I'm honest, I know that sounds like a very general and strange things to perhaps say, but the trouble is with games and factions, and I guess perhaps Fallout is probably a good example of this. Is that I don't really care for any of the factions because I don't know any of them. Do you know what I mean? They're all strange to me. Unless you're absolutely bought into the lore and this is the fourth or fifth game you've played in a series and you know the factions and stuff, then I don't really care about the factions. I'm just in it for myself, quite selfishly. So I'm not really sure how the factions thing's going to play out for me. But as long as the gameplay and the gunplay and things like that and the parkour are all really smooth and really enjoyable, then it's a game I think I'm absolutely going to love. Mr. T, let's come to you, my friend. So yeah, Dying Light, where is that on your radar? Is it a must buy or is it a wait and see?
I bought the first one when it came out, and because I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to horror games.
Okay.
It comes to a bit. I think is it nighttime when they all change and they all go like really
Yeah,
wild and
yeah.
aggressive. I
Yeah.
got to this bit where I just kept dying and dying. I couldn't get past this zombie chasing me across the beach. I think it was. There's like some sand, so you had to run somewhere. And I kept dying and dying. I ended up not bother going back on the game. I brought it again recently because I had it on physical before, and I put it on. And obviously, I went back to my save and I was going dying. So I went to start it again, but I never got around to playing it again. But this second one, I got to admit, it looks impressive. But I don't know if I'll pick it up. I think I'd be good with friends and stuff as a group, but on my own, I think I'm too much of a wimp to play these sort of games.
That surprises me, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider it as scary.
No, it's not scary.
It's not scary, but I know what you mean about the nighttime. Like it can be pretty intense because obviously it's dark. The sound sort of plays a bigger part at night as well. And yeah, the zombies are kind of a different beast at night as well. So I can kind of see that. I didn't necessarily, because I'm not that too big into my horror games either, but I kind of, just because of the movement mechanics and like I say, just the way you can just sort of kick a zombie and it goes flying kind of made it feel a little bit more silly to me, more so than scary. Like, for example, Resident Evil 7, I found really, really intense at the beginning. It's sort of a different vibe to me. But I know what you mean, especially about the nighttime.
Don't talk to me about Resident Evil 7. I had to turn it off.
Did you? I saw that you were playing it, and then we mentioned that obviously Resi 8's fantastic. I absolutely love Resi 8. You didn't make it through to the end then?
No, I turned it off.
Oh no! Oh, does that mean you're not going to play 8?
I don't know. It's one of I brought Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 3, and I've never played them yet.
Okay, that's another franchise you need to get your teeth into then, by the sounds of it.
I did play 5 a lot. That was alright for Resident Evil, but I never really played them much. I think the one before 5, I think I played Resident Evil 1 and 2 on the PS1.
Okay,
Which was quite a while ago when they came out.
Luke, let's come to you. What's your take on it? This clearly seemed like it was probably, high-end PC graphics, but they were very, very impressive nonetheless. And I'd like to think that the consoles would be able to get somewhat close to what we saw. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I think I was quite skeptical coming into it because I think we've heard for a while that the game's been in some development trouble. They've had staff turnover. Chris Avallone obviously had all sorts of issues and left as a result. He was kind of directing the narrative, really, by all accounts.
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried because I remember, I think the big gameplay footage they showed off, I think at E3 2019, because of all that's gone on since then, I really felt that when they revealed the game properly, that it just wouldn't live up to that footage. I thought that was really genuinely smoke and mirrors. Not at the time, obviously, but in retrospect. But actually, I was really impressed with what they showed because not only did it look pretty much like the original footage, but obviously, running at 60 FPS, as you say, there's no doubt that was on a high-end PC. But it's a cross-gen game, and you would think that the new gen console certainly would be able to emulate that experience at a close to similar-ish level. I was a huge fan of the first game. I really, really enjoyed it. And I've always been looking forward to this, and I think what they're trying to do with it is quite ambitious because they're not only trying to get in all of the stuff that was in the first game, but also introduce, as people have said, these factional elements and choices that you can make in the story to change its course, etc. So I came away genuinely quite impressed. I hated the format of reveal. I think I said this. Yeah, I said this on Indy's show last night, which was that I really hate the forced interviews where it's a scripted interview segment. It just really, really irritates me. I just think if you're going to show off the game, just show off the game and then have developers talking directly to camera. I just prefer that. So I really dislike that. But everything else I really, really enjoyed that I saw. It just looks like more Dying Light, but bigger in scale, more ambitious. It looks great. Yeah, I genuinely can't wait to get it. It was the second best thing of this week, I would say, for me.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Pucks, we'll come to you if that's all right. And I think we've got a little bit of chat to catch up on. But I quite like the first-person parkour side of things as well. Reminded me of Mirror's Edge a little bit, where you're kind of leaping around and stuff. It all looked really good. Is this a game that's very much on your radar?
You know what? I'm similar to you in that I've never really played the first one, and the first one game kind of come and passed me by before I even really knew what the game was. So I remember when this game was announced, maybe 2 E3s ago, thinking, oh, this game looks really good, but I've never heard of it before, or at least I hadn't really recalled it before. So I've just watched some of the new gameplay a couple of minutes ago, about last half an hour ago, and that mix of parkour and zombies, it looks like good fun, like something that I can't believe it's passed me by. But at some point in the future, maybe I'll dive in, but I've got so many other things on my plate that that are going to be coming out as well as right now that it's not at the top of my list. I'll put it that way. So I won't be rushing to get it, but it definitely looks like something I think I would enjoy playing.
How about let's throw this question out to the panel. Do we think that there might be a day one Game Pass for Dying Light 2? Is that something that could happen? Do you think, guys?
Tough one.
I think it could do. I mean, it's really difficult to say never to anything like that.
Yeah,
obviously, it's
true.
still more than 6 months out. Stranger things have most certainly happened, so it's really hard to discount what Microsoft could do with Game Pass. And I think especially when you consider I think we discussed it last week, Starfield seemingly coming out even as late as sort of fall 2022 at this point. Until Microsoft get that first party, I guess, train rolling, and they've got regular first party games coming out, then they're going to likely fill those gaps on Game Pass specifically with third party games. And this is a game that could very much fit Game Pass. But if I remember correctly, the first one was actually pretty successful from a sales perspective. So I guess with it being the second entry in the franchise to something that was already successful, I think from Techland's perspective, and I don't know if it's self-published. I don't know if anybody knows who's actually publishing it. But I guess there would need to be a massive incentive for them to do so. Obviously, we saw the success with Outriders, but being a brand new IP, I think it kind of made a little bit more sense there. But with it being, the second entry in, like I say, a pretty successful franchise. Well, I say franchise, obviously there's only one entry so far, but I think that maybe means it's not too likely, but nothing would surprise me these days.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know if the fact that that they would be starting on the second one, as it were, in Game Pass, I don't know if that comes into it, but perhaps it does. It's an interesting point. I'd never really thought about that, but because I know, go on.
No, I was going to say that Scott stole all my points actually. So
sorry, mate.
Thanks for that. No, I was going to say I think the first one was extremely successful. It made Techland a lot of money, and Techland self-publish their games, and they're planning to, as far as I'm aware, for Dying Light 2. So It's a never say never, but I think, as Scott rightly said, because he stole my thoughts, the Outriders was a very risky venture for Square Enix. They've had very established IPs like Avengers, Bomb. So it made sense that if Microsoft just approached and said, "Here's a bag of cash, put it on Game Pass," that worked. With Dying Light, particularly given its long development cycle, I can't imagine that Techland will be moved by a Game Pass offer unless it's really, really significant. And I don't know if right now Microsoft are like totally willing to absolutely break the bank, so to speak. I mean, not comparatively to what they've offered before, is what I mean. For it, but you never know, right? And if they did get it for Game Pass, that would be a huge get, because it's a really popular IP. It's on a different level to Outriders.
That's what makes being an Xbox fan specifically really exciting, because like Scott says, you never actually know what's going to happen next, particularly with Game Pass and what they're going to go for, because there was obviously talk about Xbox acquiring Techland and things like that, and perhaps if that deal didn't actually go through, then perhaps the thing that was left on the table was perhaps he's coming to Game Pass and seeing how that kind of relationship panned out. Perhaps, who knows? But like I say, that's the exciting thing. No one actually, or some people know, but certainly not us. But let's hope E3 might reveal a little more. But Pucks, let's get some of this chat done. We've had some fantastic chat. Thank you everyone for being here. I know I keep banging on about it, but I really do love seeing you guys, and you do pick us up on bits when we get it wrong, and you throw some grenades our way. It's all good to see. Yeah, let's go through the chat then, Pucks. What we got?
Yeah, definitely. So first off, coming from Fugly, who asks us, "Are you guys streaming E3?" And the answer to this, unless anything's changed beyond the scenes that I'm unaware of, but so the four of us of the GPG crew, I think, are all of a similar mindset that we like to sit down and just watch the shows amongst ourselves to begin with. So we won't necessarily be doing any live reaction streams per se, but we've definitely got a load of shows lined up post shows once we've all digested it all and had a chance to think about it, and we'll be discussing, well, I guess pretty much everything announced, across all platforms. I think's the idea. So
absolutely,
Flap.
No. We're going to be doing a post E3 show. So I think the show starts 6 p.m. UK time and is slated for 90 minutes. So that should be finishing at 7:30 UK time. What would that be? That would be 2:30 US Eastern time. And hopefully we should still be able to do our show as per normal at 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And just do some reactions, hopefully. I'm hoping that's how it's going to pan out. And you know what, Fugly? You've done a few of our emergency surprise shows, so let's get you in on that one if you don't mind. That would be great to have you on board and get you in on that show, because you do tend to do those sort of shows. In fact, we might open it up and have quite a few guests if people are available and willing. But yeah, it'd be great to do a post E3 show once we know answers to a lot of our questions. Yeah, can't wait. Really excited.
Other comments. One here from Sins Gaming, who says, "Not gonna lie, I was worried for Dying Light 2, but that new gameplay footage sold me again. It looks like butter." Fugly again. On a scale of 0 to 10, how excited are you guys for 2 Sundays from now? So 2 Sundays from now.
About 11.
About 13th of June. Yeah. Very
exciting wet
stuff.
dreams already.
Shizno Elite. Yeah, I've been getting back to Dying Light since it's got the FPS boost. It's awesome. Adam C. I've looked at the Xbox store and it says Dying Light 2 has ray tracing.
Nice.
Interesting. Pong Soul, over 3,000 parkour animations is incredible. It was a fantastic showing for Techland with all the reported troubles. Was so happy to see the game looking polished, and ready to go in 2021. December is a perfect launch period.
Yeah, absolutely agree. That's gonna be a fantastic. I mean, imagine holiday stroke Christmas this year. That's gonna be fantastic. Hopefully, we've got things like Halo Infinite to be playing. Dying Light 2, perhaps. My God. Yeah,
Christmas is games, isn't it? Yeah.
Christmas is going to be fantastic.
And that's the comment so far.
Excellent. Well, don't forget our giveaway of Watchdog Legions. It is open to all regions. There is a little bit of a tweak you will need to do if you are outside the UK, but we can explain it. It's quite easy to do. So if you would like a chance at winning an Xbox version of Watchdog Legions, please just type a comment, pick me in the chat. and later in the show we will be picking a winner at random and giving that away. So
And
fantastic.
and just to clarify, sorry, on the list so far, I have Adam C, UK Desirous, Pyro M, Leon Creckles, and Dragon Wolf. So if I've read your name out, you no need to type it again. But anyone else, if you'd like the chance, type in pick me, and I'll add you to my list.
Fantastic. Excellent. Let's move on to the second one on our list, which is Horizon Forbidden West gameplay. This has caused a little bit of a stir, kind of both ways, really. I think the initial impression when I was watching it is why the hell are they streaming this in that horrible 1080p version that's got sort of artifacting and stuff. And once the 4K VODs had actually uploaded to YouTube, I watched it again, and graphically it's such a pretty game. I mean, there is absolutely no denying that. Although there was some criticism around the character model of Aloy and kind of the lighting and sort of how her face looked and stuff like that. And I've got to be honest, looking back, it did seem a little off in a couple of places. But I think overall it's such a pretty game. And I've got to be honest, I've never actually played the first one. Perhaps we'll come to you first, Mr. T, if that's all right. Just wondering what you made of the gameplay and whether you've actually played the first one on PS4.
The first one was my second favorite game on PS4.
Wow.
I completed it a couple of years ago. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people said it was boring, but I don't know why somehow it clicked with me.
So what aspects did you like?
I just love the engagement with the like sneaking around. I love stealth games, and it's good sneaking around, like taking over the robots and stuff, and like, you can hack them, can't you? Too, and so on. I really enjoyed it. I've always said that the Horizon Zero Dawn, when the sequel comes, it'll be the first game that gets me to buy a PS5. But I'm still going to wait. Still going to wait a year or two because it's available on PS4. But part of me feels like I don't want to be ruined by the shitty experience on the PS4 compared to the PS5.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I do know. And one of the other criticisms is that the gameplay was actually running at 30 frames a second, and obviously it looked absolutely beautiful, but it's probably not in its performance mode, shall we say, and obviously they tend to drop the graphical fidelity back for that mode, so I think we were probably seeing it in its best light graphically, albeit running at 30,
yes.
But obviously, like you say, with the PS5 version, you'll hopefully get the full 60 frames per second mode. That would be a huge... a huge get for you, would it, if there was a 60 frames per second mode on that?
Yeah, definitely. I spent I was on the phone to VJ yesterday, and we had a good chat about the trailer that came out for Horizon Forbidden West. And he was asking me what I noticed, if I noticed what he noticed, and I said that the game is visually absolutely stunning. I didn't watch the 1080, I watched the 4K upload. Yeah. And it was a beautiful game. What they've done, but I felt like the game was like linear. It wasn't. You couldn't see much background. It was all like crammed in.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
There wasn't much depth.
Yeah, it's a bit like a mission on Doom, but a bit more flowers and, and trees and so on. But the one thing that I noticed at the end is the performance absolutely tanked, especially around the like the physics were well off with when the elephant ran through those rocks. It just felt everything was completely off, and you could just tell the frame rate really dropped at the end. So I'm just hoping they have a performance mode.
They absolutely will on obviously PlayStation 5, I'm guessing. But how they bring that to PlayStation 4 is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I just think those areas are going to have no trees or nothing. I think
cut back on the foliage. No, absolutely, yeah. Well, that's obviously one option, and the first one's obviously come to PC, so I think there's probably the assumption that the second will be coming to PC as well. And now that you are a PC gamer, Mr. T, would you not consider getting it on PC, or would you stick to the console version?
If it came on PC, I'd buy it. Yeah,
on PC.
If like I'm waiting for that Kino, is it Kino or Kenna?
Kino.
Is it Bridge of Spirits? I'm waiting for that one to come out on the Epic Store. If it came on PC, I'd buy it on there because there'd be no point buying a PlayStation then. But we'll still have to see what happens because quite a lot coming that way, aren't they?
Yes, well, there's a rumour that Uncharted 4's next, which I think would be absolutely fantastic. If they could bring Uncharted 4 to PC, that would be bloody brilliant. Because, funny you should say, I think Uncharted 4 is probably my most favourite game of the PS4 generation so far that I've played. I absolutely love that game. It's brilliant.
It was good, that was.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love the storytelling and the action. It is over the top and it is silly, but you know that, and I love it for that. If that makes sense. So no, it's absolutely great. Luke, what did you make of the graphics and the trailer? I know you posted that you said it looked absolutely beautiful, and it did. There's no denying that, and obviously,
Yeah.
perhaps more so. I was a little bit surprised to see it because I thought that game was a lot further out than perhaps I'd realised, if I'm honest. So was you surprised to see gameplay of that at this point in the year?
No, because they've said probably twice that it's a 2021 launch. Now,
Hmm.
whether that's changed is another thing. But they did a similar thing in terms of showing Demon Souls gameplay off, where they didn't, you know, everybody assumed it was coming out at launch, but a couple of months before launch, they still weren't saying when the release date was until suddenly they turned around and go, "Oh yeah, it's coming day one." So you know, I'd still expect it will come out this year, but I mean that could change. Like it's really hard to tell because they haven't said. But they've always been pretty adamant that it is coming this year. And I think there was a Sony Investor Relations conference the other day where they still earmarked it for this year. So
Okay.
so we'll see on that front. In terms of the gameplay, I just I'd looked on. I watched the 1080p stream. I thought even on that, with the art, kind of compression going on, it just looks just phenomenal. I mean, it just, I'm admittedly biased because I love the first game, but I sit here as someone who, is has been exposed to playing Metro Exodus at 60
Yeah.
FPS on PC and ray tracing. I can tell you, and Doom and all those, and I can tell you now that's Horizon's probably the best looking game I've ever seen.
Wow.
Graphically, I mean. Now the 30 FPS stuff's interesting. There's no doubt. I mean, there's not been a Sony game that's released so far that hasn't had a performance mode or had a default 60. I think.
Yeah.
So I definitely expect it to have that a 60 mode. Clearly, that's going to run at a lower resolution. And there may be some graphical compromises to get it there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
but-
they capitalized on making that game look as beautiful as they could, and sacrificed
Yeah.
the FPS for the benefit of the trailer, I guess. Yeah, or the review.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, that the sequence of gameplay there is a linear mission, really, because it's the best way to show off the game, I guess. It's an easy route to take, and you can they can repeat that action, right, to get it to look really cinematic and very perfect as they're going through. Whereas obviously if they just said here's 20 minutes of us just going around the open world and going mad, it would just look really weird for a presentation. So yeah, like I just I to be honest, I didn't expect it to look as good as it did, because I really genuinely thought that the PS4 was going to not cripple it, but handicap it somewhat in terms of giving you that kind of wow next gen experience, right? At least visually again. So I guess because I went into it with slightly lower expectations, I think that blew me away more in a sense, because it looked better than I thought it was going to look.
Yes, it's
I think-
interesting that because I don't have that sort of predetermined bias, I guess you called it. So I didn't really know quite what to expect. So
Yeah.
I guess we've both seen it with a slightly different critical eye, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's. I didn't really see the frames drop that much. I'm quite susceptible to that. I think at the end with the rocks, I think there was just a lot of action on screen. It may have done. Maybe there'll be Digital Foundry analysis that comes out that shows a
I think
frame
that's-
graph on it. But
that's already out, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so maybe it did. I think the stuff about Aloy's face is really weird. Like it's to be honest, like it's quite sad. Some of the I don't know, it seems like a bit of fanboy warring
Okay.
that's going on, like in the same way that Craig was picked up, right? Because Craig looks like Craig. I think people are criticizing Aloy because she's got slightly chubby cheeks. So it's like really bizarre. I don't really know where that's come from, and I think there were some little graphical artifacts in the demo, stuff like the gun, zooming up to her hands at the end, and all
Yeah,
that sort of stuff. I mean, that's
it shows
little
that it's real,
stuff,
doesn't it?
but
I guess.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it'll get it already looked extremely polished anyway, so it'll get polished up. So for me, the most impressive thing this week by a considerable distance, and yeah, I just can't wait for it. I really do hope it launches this year, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. And you just have to kind of accept that.
Okay, so Dying Light was your second most impressive, and obviously Forbidden West was the most impressive of the week's reveals. Then
Of the weeks, yeah.
okay, no, fair enough. Scott, what did you make of it, mate? Have you played the original one?
I've not played the original, actually, so I come at it completely blind, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I can only really speak to what I saw. I know obviously Horizon Zero Dawn was very well received. I know a lot of people who thought that was their game of the year it came out, and I know a lot of people are particularly excited for this. So I did watch the footage though, and I thought it looked absolutely beautiful. I didn't end up watching the 4K footage after the fact, but even just watching the 1080p stream on Twitch or YouTube, I can't remember which, I still thought it looked pretty fantastic, if I'm being perfectly honest. So like I say, having not played the game, I can't really comment on maybe some of the changes from like a combat mechanics perspective, but I really liked some of the mobility options that seem to be in the game, which I don't recall being in the first game. I would please correct me if they were in there, but things like the grappling hook and I guess Breath of the Wild inspired gliders, maybe a little bit that look to maybe add a few things that maybe the first game were missing, but I just thought it looked stunning. Similar to Luke, I was a little bit surprised at just how good it looked. I was maybe originally the impression, I guess cross-gen games get a little bit of a bad rap, but I think this shows, is last gen going to hold back games this gen? I mean, if you look at that footage, the answer really is going to be no, hasn't it? Because the game just looked bloody awesome, if I'm being perfectly honest. So.
Like Mr. T said, games are highly scalable, and like you say, if you just scale back a load of foliage, then and that gets you your FPS target or whatever, then fair enough, I guess.
Exactly. And if you remember, Microsoft obviously took a lot of flack when they sort of committed to being cross-gen for a couple of years. And then, funny how it turns out that Sony end up doing the same thing, and then these games end up looking beautiful anyway. I don't think it quite looked as good as, say, Ratchet and Clank. But that's obviously a PS5 only game. I think I preferred that ever so slightly, but don't want to take anything away from the actual footage itself. It looked bloody good. The release date thing was pretty interesting, but I think when they originally announced Forbidden West, whenever that was, I think it was originally earmarked for like a first half of 2021 release. Obviously, I think it's fair to say that's been pushed back a little bit at this point. I would suspect it will probably be their fall game this year, but we will obviously have to wait and see. So, but if it is, that still gives another 5 months of polish. That build's probably a little bit older as well, so I wouldn't have any concerns from like a performance standpoint when people were talking about frame drops and things like that. And obviously, as you say, it's going to have a 60 FPS mode. No doubt anyway. So yeah, we're really, really excited for people that enjoyed the first game. Now looking forward to that one. I did really like the tweet. I think it was from Jeff Grubb, who said basically that they're not going to announce the release date until they know when Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. So I think the original launched basically alongside Breath of the Wild 2, if I remember correctly. And obviously that drew a lot of comparisons between the two games, I think. And yeah, I think there was just a little bit joking that maybe they're keen to avoid that happening again this time.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And it's I got to be honest, I didn't realise it was as close as I think I must have missed out on the sort of the launch window that was expected for that game. So yeah, I was actually quite surprised to see it, but perhaps I shouldn't have been. Pucks, you owned a PS4. You played lots of PS4 games. Was the original one that you played? And is this on your radar?
I did play it, but I didn't play it at launch or anything. It kind of passed me by the first time round. My first jump into the first game was actually earlier this year when Sony released it as a free download as part of their, play at home initiative for the second year round. Okay. So I started playing it literally as early as 2 months ago. And I kind of out of nowhere absolutely fell in love with it, and I couldn't believe I hadn't played this game any sooner. I thought it was fantastic. Haven't finished it yet. I've still got quite a way to go, and I'm jumping between all sorts of different games, like I think most of us at the moment. So I am yet to kind of carry on my my journey in the game, but I'm a couple of hours in, really enjoying it so far. And I really liked I really enjoyed watching the Food and West footage as well. But you guys were all mentioning about seeing animation issues and glitches and frame rate drops, but I ended up actually watching this on my phone while laying in bed late at night. Night it came out. No, partner was no, she was asleep, and partner was asleep next to me, and I was kind of couldn't sleep, and and I just thought, oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot to catch up on that. I'll watch it now, and on my phone at least, it looked fantastic. I thought, I love the colourful graphics, graphical fidelity looked fantastic. At least from what I could see, the gameplay also looked like it played pretty much the same as the first game. Minus obviously the new grapple hook mechanics and the swimming underwater stuff and all that kind of jazz. But now I thought the game looked great. It's definitely something I'd love to jump into. So I don't have a PS5. I'm in no particular rush to buy one at the moment. Not that I can do. I've got a wedding to pay for, as I've said a number of times. But yeah, it's definitely a game I would love to pick up when the time comes that I do pick up a PS5. But then again, if it comes to a PC as well in the future, then I may well pick it up on PC if that is a thing. But yeah, I thought it looked fantastic. Watching it on a small screen at least, I didn't notice any of the graphical hitches, but I definitely did see the Twitter rounds of the kind of the blown up chubby cheeks and stuff. But to be fair, I mean, when I saw those tweets the second time round, or even the third time round, I kind of had to give it a double take because I don't remember seeing like her face looking quite so fat. So I kind of convinced myself that maybe it was partly Photoshop just to maybe look a bit worse than it was. But I haven't rewatched the footage yet. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. I would actually just like to touch on that point because I've seen some absolutely outrageous criticism of I guess the direction that they've gone with Aloy, and I saw one person in particular who, to be fair, has been called out for it quite a bit on Twitter today, who was criticizing Aloy for maybe not looking feminine enough, and I think drawing comparisons to characters from The Last of Us Part 2 and how was it Ellie, I believe, who obviously was buff as out in that game.
Abby,
sorry, yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Luke. And like, I just keep thinking, like, these are women who are like fighting mechanical dinosaurs. Yeah, she's going to be buff. She's going to be shredded. And like the comparison that the guy had used had like an artist impression of this like dolled up, full of makeup, like skinny faced character. And it was just like, come on. Like you want these games to have some sort of semblance to realism as much as possible. Obviously, this is someone fighting mechanical dinosaurs. So, it's a little far fetched, but these are women who are like fighting things on a regular basis. Yeah, they're going to be ripped. They're going to be buff, and yeah, I think Luke touched on it earlier. It's very much seems a bit of like the Craig thing where someone's paused at the right moment and zoomed in the right place, and have got like a screenshot and then have ran for it. It's just quite frankly bloody ridiculous, to be honest.
It's quite fun. Yeah, but these things come and go. I mean, I really hope Craig is actually in Halo Infinite in the end. I think Microsoft are able to laugh at themselves enough to be away, even 343, to be able to do that, and I really hope it is. But something like Aloy and stuff, I think that's just going to blow over, isn't it? It's not a thing. Where are we with the chat, Pucks?
Yeah, I've got a few things saved. One here from Shizno Elite who says, I loved the first Horizon, and I'm sure this will be great, but it didn't impress me as much as it seemed to impress others. Parksy 1972 says Jeff Keighley already earmarked it for the Game Awards winner, if the Game Awards Twitter account is to go by.
Really?
Pyro M, Ratchet and Clank was meant to be a PS5 release title, but that was pushed back for polish. Horizon will likely receive a push too. I liked this one, so I added it in. Adam C says Peppa Pig, the video game of the year.
Yes.
Boardman Gamer, will Horizon be out this year? I'd have thought they would have given it a release date or window, considering they did a whole state of play for it. Luke, I know you kind of touched on this on the chat, I believe.
Sorry, Pucks. My mind was off with the fairies. Then what's that?
That's all right. I just read BMG's comment about is there a release date for this, and I think you mentioned some things in the chat.
Yeah, the Demon Souls stuff. Yeah. So yeah, they've said 2021. They haven't had a release date, but they did a similar thing with Demon Souls, as I was saying earlier. So it's not just because they haven't announced one now doesn't mean that it's not coming this year. But we just don't.
Yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
they would have shown. I don't think they would have had
Yeah.
the state of play at this point if it wasn't going to release this year, because they could have had the state of play at any point.
Yeah.
You know, they control the messaging. There would be no need for them to show it this early, knowing that it was going to be pushed into 2022. I think at that point you hold it till later in the year. So I think just by having the state of play kind of confirms it should be out this year. Obviously, things can change, and maybe they're just waiting to sort of see how the next few months of development goes before committing to a date, which I think is really smart in this day and age, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Two more here. So one here from Tukungula, who says, this is regarding the Twitter facial animation stuff. I thought it was just me. Fanboy rhetoric aside, something did seem odd about Aloy's animations. Glad I'm not the only one. And finally, again from Shizno Elite, who says, there was a grapple, but only to be used in certain areas mechanic. But graphics don't make a game great, just pretty. Which is a good point, actually. I mean, at least from what I saw, the gameplay looked like it played similarly to the first game, and I really enjoyed how that played. But no, I do completely agree with that, and I think that is a topic we've touched on a number of times in the past about how, you know, doesn't matter how great a game looks visually, if the gameplay sucks, then most people probably won't play it after a time. But
No,
we'll
I
have to
agree.
wait and see.
But obviously, here in the panel, you know, if it's Tushi's sort of second or actual most favourite game of the PS4 generation, then that's quite a big high praise considering the competition it's up against, I guess. So
Yeah, definitely. And that's the comment so
Excellent.
far.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, chat. Thanks for getting involved. Well, we've got one more of these to do, and perhaps we'll go around fairly quickly because these have taken longer than I was expected, to be honest. But it's always great to talk about these fantastic games, particularly when something like this kind of comes out of the blue a little bit. And we'll come to you first, Luke, for reasons I will explain, and you probably already know. Far Cry 6, I know you're not a huge Ubisoft fan, but Far Cry does seem to be the last bastion of games that you might be looking forward to from Ubisoft. Was you pleased with what you saw? Did it kind of meet expectations, do you think? Because to me personally, and perhaps I'll go first, kind of, it absolutely felt like a Far Cry game. The gunplay, the gun mechanics, they all looked fantastic. Graphically, it was okay, I guess. Am I excited to play it? Probably. Would I spend 60 quid on it? Probably not. Yeah. What's your take?
Yeah, it is Ubisoft's last bastion with me, apart from A, a new Splinter Cell, and B, Beyond Good and Evil 2, because everything else has just devolved to the point where I just don't enjoy them anymore. Far Cry is a bit of I guess a guilty pleasure because I really enjoy the Far Cry games, and I always have done. I really enjoyed Far Cry 5, for example. So when I saw 6, it as you say, it looks like Far Cry, right? It's not breaking any new boundaries with what it's doing. But the gunplay and the open world in Far Cry is always a lot more enjoyable for me than combat and the open worlds of other Ubisoft games. You know, because it's a bit more sandboxy. There's a lot more scope to how you approach missions, for example, and you know, it's just gone. They also have this usually quite a good plot, like interesting characters. You know, it's a bit over the top, and so yeah, like I, even though it was the least impressive thing I saw this week out of the 3 things, that's not to say that I didn't really enjoy. I didn't enjoy what I saw, because I did. You know, I think it looks really nice. I'll definitely pick it up because I'm a fan. My partner's also a big fan of Far Cry, so it makes sense for us to get it. You know, it's got Giancarlo Esposito. You know, so
Yes.
I'm into that. That's a really good villain choice. I mean, they've since Far Cry 3, they've constantly been trying to chase like the Vass template of like this.
But what a fantastic villain he is. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, they will be lucky if they get another villain like Vass, because Michael Mando is a fantastic actor, and he absolutely nailed that part in Far Cry 3. To this day, it's probably one of the best gaming villains there's been, particularly just for a single game, right? That's how good it was that people remember it after all these years, and Ubisoft are still trying to chase it. So I don't think, you know, the new villain will be quite as good as that, but if he can come close, that'd be great. Yeah, graphically, it was kind of I don't know what you thought. I think, you know, you said it wasn't like was impressive, but not amazingly impressive. But the thing that for me that really was weird was that environmentally, I thought it looked terrific. You know, everything looked really nice.
The
But the
character models
character
were
models,
off.
yeah, they were shocking. Yeah, they looked really bad.
They seemed
like not in
they seemed really
cutscenes,
last
but
gen, didn't they?
they did. Yeah, it was almost like out of sorts with the
Yeah.
environments, because there's some super detailed, dense environments like the jungles and the city, and you know the lighting was really nice, and all this sort of stuff. But then when you saw the character models, it just really seemed at odds with the rest of the presentation. So that was the thing. I'm glad you said it. It was like the same thing that stuck out to me as being like, oh, that doesn't seem quite right. So maybe, I mean, hopefully they'll improve it somewhat, you know, coming into the launch. But other than that, it looked nice, and also I think they confirmed that the new gen, you know, Series X and PS5 will be at 4K 60, which is great. So you know, that's going to be really cool. And yeah, I'm sure I'll enjoy it, unless it's a disaster, but it doesn't look like one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
No, me too. One of the things I like about Far Cry games, and I will never forget this moment, and I know everyone has these sort of moments, and they tend to only really happen in open world sort of games, but I never forget, I think it was Far Cry 4. I was scoping out this enemy camp or encampment, and I was kind of planning my route, and I could see there was kind of, I think it was a bear in a cage or something. I was going to shoot the lock of that. I was going to take this guy out. I was going to sneak around, disable the alarms, And just while I'm looking through my binoculars, a tiger out of nowhere came rampaging in and actually wiped out about 3 of the enemy for me. And I'm just sat there watching this through my binoculars, and it was just such a fantastically random moment that will stick with me forever. And I just love the randomness of that game where something like that can just happen. And it really was one of those moments. And I thought, I love this series just for that alone. And I just hope that this game can encapsulate that as well.
Definitely, yeah. It does have that. Ever since really Far Cry 2, I would say. I mean, Far Cry 1 to some extent, but Far Cry 2, it has those really cool systems in place in the world. You know, the wildlife, and Far Cry 2 famously had the fire propagation stuff that was quite important to it. So I totally agree that it's got that kind of that randomness to fights where you think you might have stuff under control sometimes, and then something happens that's not scripted, and it just blows away what you were trying to do, and that's
blows
really
your
fun.
plan.
It's really it's really enjoyable. So totally agree.
Oh, fantastic. Scott, are you a Far Cry fan? Is this on your radar?
It's not a game that I've played an awful lot of, if I'm being perfectly honest, Flap. I'm trying to think of the last Far Cry game I played, and if I remember correctly, maybe someone could tell me, I think it was on the 360, and if I remember, you got sort of infected and you got some sort of like feral abilities. Is that
Far
right?
Cry 2?
Far Cry, yeah, because you can get malaria, I think, in Far Cry 2 or something like that.
Yeah, you kind of you can turn into basically like a beast or something, and you get sort of a bit. If I might be even thinking of the wrong game. Either way, that should tell you obviously my familiarity with the series. I think Far Cry's kind of fallen into a bit of a trap for me, which hearing what both you and Luke have just been saying maybe is wrong on me, to be perfectly honest. And we've discussed this on the show fairly recently, where a lot of Ubisoft's games often feel quite similar, and because of that, I don't play an awful lot of them. I haven't played them for.
It does do that whole climb a tower, unfog some of the map, go and scout around, find. It does do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. So because of that, I think I've kind of just not really given it too much of a chance for a long time, and I've never really paid too much attention to it because this is on me maybe more than anything, but I often just thought, oh, it's another one of those Ubisoft games, and it's never really something that's attracted us, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I did check out the gameplay trailer for this, and maybe because I haven't played it for so long, I looked at this and thought, oh Christ, I've maybe been missing out. I thought it looked fantastic. I know what you guys are saying about particularly the character models, but I thought the environments and stuff looked fantastic. The setting looks great. Obviously, I love what was the actor's name again? The guy from Breaking Bad.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, obviously it's great to see him, and I know obviously he was we've known about him being in the game for a little while. I just thought little things that I kind of didn't expect. For example, the Macarena gun. I thought it looked
Yes.
bloody hilarious.
The CD gun.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, the obviously just the dog that's in. I think if you
Yeah,
include the dog
yeah,
in the game,
yeah.
you've probably got me anywhere. And obviously there's a crocodile in there as well that they're showing off. So I was pleasantly surprised, and like I say, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I've not really played an awful lot of Far Cry. So I think if I do end up checking this out, I think the problem that Far Cry maybe has is it's October 7th of this year, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
That's dangerously close to Halo territory, Battlefield territory. We know that Dying Light's coming out in December. We're likely to get us, a lot of games maybe announced at E3 that potentially come fall of this year as well. So from my perspective, I think the concern I would have is it just going to be in a really crowded space, and then I'm not really ever going to get around to it, and then the ship will have sailed by the time maybe I've got time to check it out. So, but I did actually really like what I saw, and like I said, that might be because it was essentially looking at it with a fresh pair of eyes, really. And hopefully, if I get a chance to check it out, I'll enjoy it. But the release date, I think for me, is probably the one thing that'll prevent us from playing it maybe as much as I would like.
Well, that's fair enough. And obviously, if you're a Far Cry fan, that's probably not going to be a consideration. But if you're kind of on the fence, then it's one of those games that you perhaps play kind of in the quiet spells of 2022, perhaps. But and again, if you play Plus or whatever, let's see what happens with Ubisoft and Game Pass. You never know; it may be on there at some point in the future, anyway. I guess. But Mr. T, Far Cry, is that something you enjoyed? Did you ever look at the trailer? What did you think?
Yes, I was visually, I was very impressed with the surroundings. Absolutely beautiful game.
Yeah.
Regarding the gameplay style for the actual games, I'm a big fan of the Ubisoft games and the way because my all-time favorite is Wildlands. Back from, was it 2015? I think it was. Obviously going through like games like Division and even going like Immortals Phoenix Rising, they're all kind of similar.
Yeah.
And the way that you can tell a Ubisoft game by looking at the way they run. But I enjoy what Ubisoft does with those type of games. I enjoyed Far Cry 5. The last one I played was New Dawn.
Okay, yes, I played New Dawn.
The only thing I didn't like, I think it was that one, was that bullet sponge bear at the church.
Yeah, yes, I know the one. Yeah, what was he called? He had a name, didn't he? I can't remember what he's called now. Yeah,
It was a funny name, yeah, but I think I swear I used all my ammo on him. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's that one thing I feel like is more of a chance of this one coming to Game Pass than Dying Light 2.
Okay,
I think
that's interesting, and more so than perhaps Battlefield.
Oh, I don't know about that one. That's two I'm hoping for to come on there anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Why not both there?
They'll be purchased anyway, so but they're my two games that I expect to come onto Game Pass out of anything this year.
Really? Oh, well, so Far Cry 6 and Battlefield 6, strangely enough.
And regarding them releasing around the Halo time, I don't think they're worried. I think they know they've got a good franchise there, and it has its fans. I don't think they're worried about Halo. That's how I feel about it.
I think just to clarify that too, I was maybe just talking more from a personal perspective, where I know there's going to be games coming out that year that around that time that I'm going to be more interested in. Yeah, I'm sure Ubisoft aren't going to be worried at all. Far Cry seems to sell by the bucket load every single time. Every single time it comes out anyway. So I doubt they're worried. It was just more from my personal perspective about whether I'm actually going to get an opportunity to play with all the things that I know I'm going to want to play around that time.
Welcome to the backlog.
It's already pretty huge, mate. So,
mine's over 600. My backlog is crazy.
Bloody hell, that is crazy.
It's not that big, like
the what do you call it? The way I see it with Far Cry 6, I see that they're releasing around Halo. I see it, they've got balls. But it's going to be Halo's meant to be the biggest franchise coming this year, and they're releasing pretty much within a month or something when it's going to be released. And to me, that's impressive. That is.
It is, although they are going first. You wouldn't want to
Yeah.
have to follow Halo, I guess. But no, that's interesting. Well,
Yeah.
Pux, I mean, you're not a Far Cry player at all. I don't think you've played any, have you? What did you make of the trailer coming from that perspective?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, this is part of my confessionals last week. Far Cry has been a series which, I've seen trailers for the, previous games that have been, have come and gone, all the rest of it, and I'm not. There's no particular reason. I suppose it's just there's just been something about the series which just I don't know hasn't gripped me. I don't know what the word is. It's just something about it which just doesn't really draw me in. I can't really put my finger on it. But I mean, for the show, I did watch snippets of the Far Cry 6 trailer, and as everyone else has already mentioned, the environmental landscapes and the graphical fidelity of all that looks absolutely fantastic. I know we had some comments earlier, and we said it ourselves about how great graphics don't make great games. This is always true, but in the AAA space, visual fidelity is and graphical fidelity, whatever word you want to use, is it's the pinnacle of next gen gaming, right? It's having those massive, fantastic gameplay experiences, but mixed with that fresh, new, high tech level of realism, I guess, especially with the outlook of things like Unreal Engine 5 and what that is now capable of. But yeah, in terms of the gameplay demo or the trailer, whatever, it looked fantastic. The gameplay, from what I've seen in the past, looks like Far Cry, but I can't really comment too much because, as I say, I haven't really played any of them. But I'm afraid to say it's again, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just I'm just not drawn to the game, and I have no real interest in jumping in. If it comes to Game Pass one day, if that is a thing, then maybe I'll jump in. But even then, I mean, as I said earlier, there's so many new games coming out now in the future that even if it's in a backlog, I think it'll be so far down my backlog list that I just wouldn't bother picking it up. Unfortunately, to say.
See,
I don't know what else to add.
Knowing you and knowing the games that you like, it is probably the game that I would say that you would really absolutely like and should probably try to get into. And we were mentioning about sort of precipices last week in gaming about, you have to get over a certain point or get to a certain point in the game in terms of sort of hours or gameplay before it kind of clicks. And perhaps you just need to, perhaps put a bit more time and effort in. But like you said, there's so many fantastic games out there now. Is, what are you going to drop in order to get to that point with the Far Cry series, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, you're perfectly right, to be fair. I mean, I haven't really given any of the games a chance, as you say. So I'm not, I'm not trying to make it sound like I have no particular reason to dislike them, because I don't. It's solely the fact that I just haven't given it a chance and it hasn't interested me. But similarly, what we said last week, everybody or the large majority of people loves like The Witcher 3, for example, and everything about that game has everything about a game that I would and should love, but I just could not get into it. I kind of had that feeling with Far Cry, but as I said, I've not played it, so yeah, perhaps you're right. Maybe I just need to jump in and give it some hours of my time, and maybe I'll be a convert. And when I play it, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, where are we in the chat? I'm conscious we've got quite a lot of chat come in.
Yep, I've got a few things here. Parksy, I'll go through these relatively quickly. I'm aware of time. Yep. So Parksy972, Far Cry 6, day one for me. Baldman Gamer, never played a Far Cry game. It's a series that's never grabbed my attention. Mexico, Far Cry 5 was a really solid game. The soundtrack was 10 out of 10 on that game. Pyro M, the only Far Cry I've played is Blood Dragon, and I loved that one.
That's the only one I haven't played, strangely enough.
Parksy 1972 again. Game Pass definitely spoils us. Just a sucker for Far Cry games. Far Cry 3 and 4 are my faves. Tuka and Gula, really looking forward to playing Far Cry 6. The gameplay trailer looked beautiful. Invader Gaming, Far Cry 3 was the pinnacle for the series. Leon Kreckles, loved the Far Cry 3 PvP. Tuka and Gula again, I liked a lot of the new mechanics, like the ability to craft weapons from anything. There was the one
cool
projectile gun in that trailer that tickled me.
Yeah, that looked fantastic. I mean, they've always had fairly solid shooting mechanics as far as I'm concerned, and that just looks like the next level. So I'm really excited for that bit.
Another comment from Parksy1972 again. Good thing about Ubisoft games is within a month they get heavily discounted. So
Yes,
if you
that's
get a
true.
gap in the gaming,
Oh,
if you get a gap in the gaming window, you'll be able to pick it up at a vastly reduced price. So maybe that's what I've been missing out on. So
That's one for you, Scott. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I've got
Can I just
yeah.
quickly add to that? Just another
Yeah.
comment that we had from Adam C, who corrected me. It was actually Far Cry Instinct, which was the last game I played, which was, looking it up, it was 2005, and it was an original Xbox
Wow.
exclusive. So that tells you how long it's been since I've played a Far Cry game.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's going back some time. Well, 16 years now. Jesus Christ. That's
Need to change that because they are pretty good.
yeah.
And that's coming
Maybe
from
this will be the
Ubisoft
one.
AR.
Maybe
Yeah.
this will be the one, mate.
So
Excellent.
I've just
Well,
seen in the chat as well from Pyro. Pyro is recommending I try Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, as it's different from the rest of the series visually, but mechanically it's Far Cry. So yeah, maybe I'll give that a go as and when. I've got
Actually,
one more
just-
comment if you don't mind,
no, go on.
because I think it will lead us on to an announcement which we've said at the beginning of the show. So Achievement says, I can't stand what Ubisoft has been putting out the last 4 years. They need to reassess their formula. Watch Dogs Legion is the most refreshing thing they've done since 2015.
Excellent. Nice
speaking of Watch
nice
Dogs Legion,
segue. Exactly. Speaking of Watch Dogs Legion, we are giving away a code, yeah. Giving away a game code. If you want to win Xbox Legions on Xbox, all you have to do is write in the chat, pick me. Puxa is writing all of these down, and we will pick one lucky winner at random later in the show. So, yeah, that's what you got to do. Pick me, and you'll be in with a chance of winning Watchdog Legions. So,
And
yeah,
just to
great segue.
specify, just so people feel comfortable in the chat, so far I have Adam C, UK Dazarus, Pyro M, Leon Kreckles, Dragon Wolf, Tukungula, and Invader Gaming. If I haven't read your name out and you'd like a chance to win, pick me in the chat is what you need to do. I'll add your name to the list, and a random name picker will select the winner later in the show.
Fantastic. Yes, good luck, everyone, and thank you for Boardman Gamer for donating this in the first place. A special mention to him. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, chat. That kind of rounds up this sort of gameplay section, and it's taken longer than I was expecting, to be honest. So let's try. Well, let's spend perhaps a bit of time on this one because I'm quite excited for this one. It's been announced or suggested. I can't remember who suggested it. Was it Jeff Grubb that there is potentially another 5 AAA Xbox titles to be announced at E3, and I think most people assume that at least one of those is certainly Forza Horizon 5, which I am very excited for. Really looking forward to that game. And there's actually a question I need to ask the panel actually while we're here. Obviously, Sony and Xbox both in Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo have sort of premium first party titles in driving games and driving sims. But do we think Forza Horizon is actually sort of starting to take over perhaps from Forza Motorsport? Perhaps we'll come to you, Mr. T, with this one. I absolutely love Forza Horizon 4, and I'm actually more excited for that 5 than I am Forza Motorsport 8. Do you think actually Horizon is now the driving game that Xbox will be pushing?
I feel like Horizon is took over as probably as the most enjoyed franchise, but it will never take the place of Forza Motorsport regarding the realism and on the track. But regarding enjoyability and engagement, Horizons are 100%. When I play that game nearly daily.
Do you?
Yeah, I was playing it at like 3-4 o'clock this morning. It's just taking photos.
And just out of interest, as you've got a gaming PC, do you play it on PC now, or are you still playing it on the Series?
Yes, I play it on PC as well, but I play it more on my Xbox. I only installed it on PC just to see how well it runs on my laptop and stuff, but I think I prefer it on the Xbox. I'll get the full 4K on there. I don't know, 4K 60.
Okay.
It looks nice on the big screen.
Yeah, it's a very pretty game. Just very quickly, Luke, do you think the Horizon? Do you agree with Mr. T that Forza Motorsport will remain the prestige driving title, or do you think Horizon might start taking some of that audience away?
I think I agree with Mr. T actually. I think it's. From my own perspective, I don't really have much interest in Forza Motorsport, but and in fact, I don't have much interest in driving games at all. But I love Horizon. So and that was really surprising. So for me, it already has. But I think it has, or it feels like it has become the kind of premier racer. Not just on Xbox actually, but just in general.
Hmm.
And I think part of that is because it's a lot more accessible than Motorsport or Gran Turismo, for example. Certainly, it's like that for me. I think it's. I really love that game. Actually, it still surprises me that I enjoy it as much as I do. Because I never really get into them. But
It's the
it's
sort
also
of game that you can fire up without actually having any kind of goal in mind. You can just drive around and just mess around and sit around in it, and still have a great time.
Yeah, funnily enough, I was doing exactly that earlier. I was actually using the benchmark tool on PC for something. When you kind of go into the game and you just you start driving, you don't really have to do anything. Sometimes
No,
you don't have to
exactly.
go and do a race or an activity.
Yeah.
It's just nice to go around, especially both on Xbox as well, but on PC when it's in 4K and HDR on and the settings are up and so 120 FPS. It's an incredible like experience. Like it's really a sight. So I totally agree with that, and I've put quite a lot of hours into it, just doing exactly that and taking some photos. Sometimes something that Mr. T is expert at, because I've seen it on Twitter. Just some incredible photos. So it's just a great series. I really do love it. But I totally agree that I think it's probably, if it hasn't already, it will be the main series, the premier racing series.
I guess they tick different boxes for different people. If you're a serious, driving simulator fan, then obviously Motorsport's the way to go. But if you just like driving games in general, then like you say, Horizon is just so much fun, because Motorsport does take itself a little too seriously sometimes, whereas I don't think Horizon does. And it's nothing, like you say, you could just jump in an Aston Martin and drive it off a cliff if you want to see what happens, or just crazy stuff. And it's just, I love that aspect of it. But Scott, what other titles do you think we might be seeing then? There's the rumor of, I can't remember what it's called now. What's the
There's a couple, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I guess Forza Horizon 5 seems pretty much a guarantee at this point. So there is the rumored game that's going by the codename of Omen.
Yes,
Which I
that's
think
what
is
I
from
was
one of
struggling.
Arkane's studios, which Jez Corden has, I guess, very heavily hinted at on Twitter this weekend. I think where he basically just tweeted an emoji of a vampire, which the rumors suggest that their game is going to be based or have like a vampiric setting. So that'll be obviously interesting to see. So that'll be one of them. But I'm trying to think what the other ones could be, because we've spoken about in the past, and Microsoft have kind of got a lot of their cards already out on the table, haven't they? So I guess, if let's say Omen is one of them, Forza Horizon is another one. We've got three left. What we're thinking?
I'm thinking the IO interactive fantasy RPG, perhaps.
Yeah, there was the Typhoon game as well that I think has been hinted at by Jez Corden, and I think the original sort of 5 AAA thing came from Clobberell on Twitter rather than Jeff Grubb. So, and then there's also, you mentioned the IO fantasy game, which I think was codenamed Dragon, and then you've got like I said, the Typhoon game that was rumored as well. So I guess that leaves one, and I genuinely can't recall any sort of rumors or anything pointing to anything in particular. Does anyone else have any sort of ideas or thoughts on what that might be?
No. It's quite hard, isn't it? To I don't know quite the veracity of the rumor, because it is quite difficult to think of games, even if you're reaching, to some extent, for stuff like IO's game, right, which is super early. So I'd be a little surprised if they announced that now, given how early it is.
It is quite hard to think of these other games, but is anyone else feeling really excited because of the fact that it's, if it is a secret, we still don't know anything about it, and that it's gonna land and hopefully be fantastic?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really exciting. In fact, the only little concern that I've got that I'd highlight is a lot of these games that supposedly will be revealed are seemingly some way out. So I've just got a little bit of a niggling feeling that we're going to maybe get a lot of CG and things like that again, which, obviously it's going to be great. And, when we see them on the night, I'm going to be excited as hell. I'm going to be hyped even just at a CG trailer, because that's sort of generally how you feel at E3 anyway. But I think once the dust settles a little bit, I think, we've seen a lot of, well, if you look at the reveals for Perfect Dark, Fable, and games of that ilk, we haven't seen much of them. And then, so it would be nice to see just a few things that are maybe a little bit closer. I don't know how close any of these 5 are rumored to be. So hopefully some of them are maybe close enough that we will get some gameplay. But yeah, I think just the prospect of surprise, because what's the surprise in the gaming industry these days? What doesn't leak? So having even just one thing that turns out to be a surprise is exciting as hell, and that's why we tune in, isn't it? That's why we watch it live, because we want to be surprised and we want to be excited.
I just seen Boardman Gamer in the chat saying, Indiana Jones game. Are we expecting to see more of that, do you think? Or is that still so far out that what we've seen is pretty much it for the time being?
I guess from what Scott was saying, right? I mean, if anything, if we do see it at all, I'd only expect maybe like a CG trailer rather than
we've kind of seen
gameplay.
that, though, haven't we? Well, we haven't even seen that actually. We've just seen some sort of
CG
CG kind
static
of
image, wasn't it?
We've seen a table, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's a
that
whip
was
and
it.
a whip and a gun on it and a map and a compass, that kind of stuff, I guess. But yeah, I'm really excited for the Indiana Jones game. Actually, I'm intrigued to know they could really get that wrong. I think it's a very dangerous franchise because it's obviously a very beloved film. We've got things like Uncharted and Tomb Raider out there, so there is a precedence out there for it to already meet before it's even done anything. I think it's a very bold choice to pick as a franchise, if I'm honest, because it would be so easy to get it wrong. But I absolutely hope they nail it, and I'm sure they will. Mr. T, how about Wolfenstein 3? Do you think we might see something along those lines?
It's been a while since the last one, isn't it?
Youngblood, was that the last one?
Yeah, Youngblood, yes. I bought
Yeah,
that
so that
on
was
the
a little while
Xbox
ago.
and the Switch. It was awful on the Switch.
Was it?
Yeah.
But you
I
had to
think that
wash
was
your
your own
eyes after
fault
that
there,
one.
mate.
Yeah.
The emotion
I don't
blur.
think you had anyone but to blame but yourself, mate.
You're not going to get much sympathy getting it on the Switch, I'm afraid.
Yeah, 2019 actually, it was only 2019, that one. So
Was
it's less than 2 years old at this point. July 2019 for Youngblood, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. Although I think it was Youngblood was done by Machine Games, but Arcane helped a lot with that game because it was a smaller Machine Games team while they were doing other things.
I am in an absolute minority, but I really loved Youngblood. I really loved Youngblood. It's bizarre. No one else likes it. I'm in a minority on that one.
I wasn't keen on it.
Nah, strange, isn't
I
it?
like the others.
Yeah. I see. I'm not that massively keen on the others. They're okay, and I can play them, and they're fine and stuff. But I guess this one felt like a breath of fresh air for me, whereas everyone else is saying, well, it's not Wolfenstein. So, yeah, weird, isn't it? That's probably one for the confessionals.
I think it was nice because... Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I enjoyed it because it was co-op, but I didn't like the changing the weapons to each armor, to kill each. I don't know. I found that kind of annoying. I felt like half the time I was trying to switch around all these weapons to try and figure out which one takes damage.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but don't most games do that? Perhaps they don't. Yeah, no, perhaps that's a fair comment. Yeah, see, that didn't bother me, I guess, particularly. But I got to say, Luke. No, go on. Sorry.
So I loved all the others. The story campaigns, them were absolutely amazing. But then it was only the Youngblood that I didn't like. Was it Youngblood? What's the last one again? Sorry.
Yeah. I can't believe that was 2019. That seems like ages ago.
Yeah.
It's quite a pretty game. It's got ray tracing switched on the PC version. It looks really pretty.
Yeah, it is a good looking game.
Talking of good looking games, I'm just looking at the footage of Metro Exodus with ray tracing on your 3080.
Yeah.
It just looks pretty stunning, mate. That's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, it's a great looking game. It's
how close do you think the Series X will get in terms of the next gen patch?
I mean, I think it'd be pretty close. You know, I think 4A are really, really good at optimizing. So you know, this is. I mean, bearing in mind what's happening with this game is that you know this is full ray trace global illumination. Um, you know, reflections as well. You know, and so for it to be able, I don't know if it's running on a 3080, but to be able to hit 60, you know, at 4K, it's DLSS 2.0, obviously, but you know, to be able to do that is really impressive because it's super demanding. Like it's incredibly demanding. With you know max settings, etc. So I think they'll get pretty close. They're aiming for a similar level. I think the ray tracing's turned down a little bit, but they're aiming for 4K 60, aren't they? So I think they'll hit it. To be honest, I think
God,
they're a fantastic developer.
imagine the Series X version looking like this. That'd be fantastic. God, I hope so.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
it's really good. I love not to commentate on my own footage, but I just love the lighting in this area. I don't know, like I keep looking down this hole because you can't really see it here, but with HDR on and then the ray trace lighting where the fire pit is, it just gives off this really soft glow, and the glow is really bright at the back, but the red and orange light runs along the walls and it starts to dissipate because of the way the illumination works from it. And it just looks fantastic. It's so hard to describe, but it looks great.
It's such a shame because, like, I know that this game looks fantastic, and even just what I can see here looks great. But I know this isn't doing it justice from what you actually saw at the time of showing it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's hard to convey it across a 1080p 60 FPS video with no HDR and stuff, but it really is. Everyone will see when they get their hands on the next gen patch for the consoles how
are we expecting Xbox to come out at E3 and actually blow us away with what the Series X is capable of graphically? Do you think is there going to be an absolute eye melting sort of showcase? Do you think where a little bit like this, I guess, where they will show off exactly what the Series X is capable of using all of the new tech that's in it? Do you think that game is ready to be shown yet?
I don't think so personally. Not because it's not capable of that, because it clearly is. I just think that if you think about the games that we know will be there, right? Well, half and half. I think Forza Horizon 5 is the game that will get closest to something like that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
By a long way, because Horizon 4 to this day still looks fantastic, and you know, Playground, I'm sure you know, will optimize the hell out of it, and they will really ramp it up for the Series X. So I think that will get the closest. But you know, Infinite is going to look a lot better, but it's still not going to. It's not going to you know be transformed in a year to something you know that's going to knock your socks off in terms of stuff we've seen recently. Starfield, I mean, Bethesda games have never been huge technical showcases anyway. No. So, I mean, the closest they got was, I guess, Oblivion back in the day for the time.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, for the time, it was actually one of the best looking games out there, very advanced. And then like Arcane's, you know, Omen, right, by the Prey team. I wouldn't expect that I'd expect it to look really nice, but again, they kind of prioritize systems and gameplay, and it's probably started development years ago as a current gen game. So the games that I think will be the ones to show stuff like that are Hellblade 2 and Fable.
Yes,
I think those will be the Fable. Games that. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think Fable will look incredible.
I'm in agreement with Luke there. I've got high expectations for that game. I think if you combine the power of the console with the art style that I hope they take, just taking inspiration from the original Fable games, I think that game is going to be one of the best looking games we'll feast our eyes on. I think.
Yeah, 100%. So I think those are the games, but I don't expect them. I'm probably Perfect Dark as well, to be honest, even though that's a bit farther out. But
how about Avowed?
I
mean, you say Bethesda, you know, they do produce games that people like for various reasons, but I would argue one of the reasons that people love Bethesda games isn't probably for the graphics, but you know, Avowed, you know, an Elder Scrolls type game, but with amazing graphics. Do you think Avowed could pull something out of the bag graphically and absolutely blow people away?
Yeah, I think it could. It's just it's really hard to know because Obsidian have never really had a massive budget for a game. They've never had a huge, but you would expect that this is the first time, I think, ever that they would have had effectively, I mean, not a blank check, but as close to it as possible.
Yeah.
To go and make something really spectacular. So they're very talented. I don't know. It's Obsidian, so it'll probably run on, well, around the time it'll probably run on UE5, I would think. So I think that could be a spectacular showcase. It's just really hard to tell. You know what I mean? Like I think the ambition is there certainly. I just don't know what it will look like. But I think I'd be pretty confident it will look better than Starfield. Pretty confident.
Yeah, no, I agree. Very exciting times. My God, I'm so excited for E3. I just want to be blown away.
2 weeks to go.
Yeah, I just want another moment like we had with Hellblade 2, and it's like, oh my God, is this what next generation's actually going to look like? And as great as that was, and I know it was 24 frames per second, and it was claimed to be running on Unreal. Well, I think it was running on Unreal 4 at the time. Obviously, Unreal 5's come along in the meantime and stuff, and they're probably doing the conversion as we speak. But I just want to see something that blows me away to that level again. And as pretty as the games that we discussed earlier are, they haven't blown me away yet. Although I've got to be honest, this Metro Exodus with this ray tracing's doing a pretty good job of blowing me away of how brilliant a game can look. And I just want to see something new that we still haven't really seen yet that looks this fantastic, running on the Series X and PS5 to a certain degree. That's going to blow people away and get everyone really excited for what's yet to come in this coming generation. Pucks, where are we with the chat? Just quickly.
Yeah, I've got a few things. Touching before we talked about Forza. So, Boardman Gamer, never played a racing game. I haven't got it saved here, but I believe BMG also said that he's confessed his sins to you, Father Flap. So,
fair enough.
That's another one to the list. Adam C. Can't wait for the new Test Drive Unlimited game. Pyro M. Not a racing sim fan, but I love the Forza Horizon games. UK Dazarus. Forza Horizon is so easy compared to Motorsport.
Yep.
Parksy 1972. I do love a good Forza Horizon game. Beautiful visuals. Dragon Wolf. If Horizon comes out this year, will it be using Motorsports Lacey's tech for new gen?
You'd have thought so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, would have thought so. I haven't got it saved here, but I did see some. I can't remember who said it, but I know someone mentioned when you was talking about a vampire-esque type game being teased. Someone mentioned Soul Reaver in the chat, and I thought, "Wow, wouldn't that be a fantastic?" And out of the blue, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Parksy 1972. Did you guys hear a studio is making a Jack the Ripper game? Apparently,
Wow.
I haven't heard this. Has anyone else?
I haven't heard that. Sounds like a good idea, though.
Yeah, definitely. The final one I've got saved, Dragon Wolf. I'm looking forward to seeing how games look on Unreal Engine 5. 100%.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
And like I say, if we can have things like Metro Exodus running, I don't know what engine this runs on. Actually, do you know, Luke?
It's a custom engine.
It's a custom engine.
For a game.
If we can have custom engines that look this good, even if Unreal 5 matches this, it would be something. But Unreal 5 will probably and most likely be surpassing this, and it is such an exciting time because for probably the first time ever, almost I would argue that the console owners of the next gen systems, obviously Series X more so than the Series S to a certain degree, we now have the hardware capable of these fantastic games, and to give PC a run for its money, mid-range PC a run for its money, and it's so exciting to see where these console developers and platform holders take this generation. I don't think we've ever been poised in a generation like this before, where the sky's the limit basically, and I think we've got so many exciting things yet to come, because when you consider the beginning of the 360 era, the beginning of the Xbox One, PS4 era compared to how it ended, and if we've got games like this already, where the hell is this generation going to end graphically? It's going to be fantastic, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go.
I suppose the only downside to bring up Unreal Engine 5 is the fact that I know there's been a lot of videos recently that it's that it's out now, but I suppose just to be specific, that is early access, and it's very early access. It's not production ready, and actually the full 5.0 production release isn't due to be released until early 2022. And
Is
I
that
think
the
so.
same
The early
for big game studios, though? I mean, someone like
well, game studios do help battle test and feedback features, because I know with Unreal Engine 4 there were a lot of AAA studios which would make their own builds of Unreal Engine 4, because the source is available if you're a developer. They can add their own features, and then they can actually push them back to Epic to say, we've added this, what do you think? And then Epic approve it, they will add it. So
someone like Ninja Theory must have their hands on UE5 right now, surely.
Oh, no doubt, and people like the Coalition as well. No doubt, they've started to. Oh, didn't they even? Someone tweeted, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago that transitioning to UE5. So yeah, no doubt they're working in the background. But I'm kind of thinking of like wider scale, like other companies then taking on Unreal Engine 5, because I can only imagine it's a relatively small pool of AAA developers which maybe have that, I don't know, right, I guess, or access to really leverage the engine. But I could be wrong. But I'm just kind of putting it out there to. Don't get your expectations up for the immediate future is kind of what I'm trying to say here. It's more wait till at least E3 next year, I think, at the earliest, before we start really seeing what UE5 can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. UK Dash just put a waiting for Project Gotham Racing announcement. Don't hold your breath on that one. God, that's a blast from the past. Wow, that was
probably my favorite racing game of all time.
Wasn't that
PGR2.
That started as a Dreamcast game, didn't it? Was it called Project Gotham back in the Dreamcast day?
Was it MSR Racing?
It was MSR, wasn't
it? Metropolis Street Racer.
Yes, it Metropolis Street Racer. That's it. And it didn't turn out.
I still own it.
Yeah, I've still got it. It ended up as Project Gotham Racing, didn't it? Or have I got that wrong? I don't know.
I think they're complete different franchises.
Are they? Oh, okay. I thought one kind of led into the other, but perhaps I've got that completely wrong. Just one other question I meant to ask while we were on the Far Cry 6. Is that? Do we know if that's still made in the Junior engine at all?
I think so. Yeah,
it wasn't mentioned, was it? It kind of looked like it was the Junior engine.
It did, yeah. It looked like it still was.
Okay, cool.
While we're on Far Cry, we're on Far Cry. I've narrowed it down. That bear's name. It's either Beast or it's Cheeseburger.
It's Cheeseburger.
Is it Cheeseburger?
Or was Cheeseburger the one that you befriended? I can't remember.
I think he was the one from 5, wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it might have been Beast.
Brains, that is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I remember there being a bear called Cheeseburger. I knew it had a cranky name.
I think it was Beast. I think from New Dawn.
It might have been Beast. I think that sounds about right. We're going to change things around slightly. I think we're going to actually drop a topic. We did have a topic down. Is the PlayStation 5 first party game price sustainable? And this was on the back of Returnal, really. I mean, it's still. I know there's a PlayStation sale on at the moment, but for £70, $70, €100 game, whatever it is, it had a fantastic first week in the charts, but pretty much disappeared from the charts after that. And I'm pretty sure that's everyone who absolutely wanted it, went and bought it, and then after that, I don't know. People on the fence, would they be willing to part with £70 for that game? I don't know, and I don't think things like Game Pass probably. Actually, saying that, they probably help the situation if you've actually got an Xbox Series X and a PS5, because at least in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't have to spend some big money on Xbox games, so perhaps I am more willing to spend £70 on a PlayStation game, knowing that all of the Xbox first-party titles will be coming to Game Pass. But we're going to drop that topic for today, even though I've just kind of mentioned it. Perhaps we'll do it again at a future date. But let's bring up a topic, and we'll come straight to you, Mr. Tucci, if you don't mind. But before we do, just one last shout in the chat. If you want to win a copy of Watch Dogs Legions, we've got 35 people watching at the moment. Just stick in the chat, pick me, and we will stick your name in the hat, and we will be picking out a winner probably in the next 15 minutes to see if you've won an Xbox copy of Watch Dogs Legions. So this is your last call to get your names down. If you're keen to win, just let us know. Mr. T, you actually raised this, and it's kind of popped in the news yesterday, I believe, that Flight Sim on console, that they've actually managed to shrink it down from over 170 gigabytes down to 83 gigabytes, which is an incredibly impressive feat. And we was having a little discussion in the green room before the show that I think perhaps we need to have to get our chat involved as well. What do we think they've done to be able to crunch that down? Because it's kind of less than half almost half the size of the game install, which for consoles is obviously very important because space is incredibly important. And what a fantastic feat that is. What do you think they've done to be able to achieve that?
Um, I've always thought that it was going to come on to the Series X at a 4K and it's going to run at 30. That's what I've always thought it would come as. Either they've dropped the resolution to probably save on the asset size, or they've offloaded some of the some of the data from the actual what they would have been the install. I think they're going to put it on the cloud because the size of the game is 200 petabytes. So I'm surely an extra couple of gig or so will be streamed. Sure, it couldn't be a problem if they can stream that much data anyway. But it's a tough one though. It's because it's a highly demanding game.
I wonder why they wouldn't do that on PC, though. I mean, they seem to have specifically done this for console because obviously, a smaller install for PC would be quite welcome, I guess. And if you are able to stream assets over that fast, and let's face it, obviously, it's not a massively fast-paced game. So if you're in the world wherever it is you're flying and you're flying in a certain direction, the game will pretty much know what it needs to load in plenty of time, I guess. It does make me wonder what they've done specifically for the console version to get it down to that install size, though. It's clever, isn't it?
I think it is for PC actually, Flap. Just
it's for PC as well, is it?
Yeah. So it's.
Yeah.
I think what they've said is they've done this work. I think part of it is in view of the console version coming later this year, but it does actually impact the PC version sort of now. So if you were to go and install the PC version now, then you'd get the reduced installations size down to 83 gig.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think mine's 136 gigabyte. I think.
Do you have DLC though, Tushy? Because I think what they've said is it's just the initial download that was originally 170, so now 83. But obviously that only includes the base game. So I don't know if you maybe bought the Ultimate Edition or anything like that comes with all the DLC or anything.
I haven't got the. Sometimes I look on the screen now. Where are you? It's disappeared. I think it was. I haven't got no DLC, but it was up. I think it was 136 gigabyte. I know last week I had a go on it, and there was a 78. I think it was a 78 gigabyte update. But maybe that's what dropped it. I don't know. I haven't checked.
78 gigabyte update.
Like Call of Duty, that isn't it?
I fancied a quick flight, and then here we are. Hang on.
It's impressive how they've done it. I mean, to be honest, we touched on this a little earlier, Luke. Do you think that the Fidelity FX engine and stuff like that? You still think that's still a little way out before games are going to be able to utilize AMD's version of DLSS 2?
Yeah, I think so. I don't expect this to use that. I think the game is insanely demanding. Like it's the demands it places on your PC is quite considerable, and not just that, but also your internet bandwidth, because as has been said, it uses Azure and Bing to stream a lot of the geometric detail into the game, and a lot of the texture work as well is actually done online. Online. So part of it is kind of influenced, at least fidelity wise, it's kind of influenced by your internet, how good that is and how capable it is of doing that quickly. So I don't think it will use any particular new features that we know are coming for the series consoles in terms of AMD's feature set, fidelity, FX, etc. I think it'll be very well optimized. I think it has to be, because you can't get away with not optimizing a game like this, because it will absolutely crush anything that it can. Flight Sim is this generation's crisis, right? That it is the most demanding thing. If you want to try out any new piece of hardware that you get for your PC, and if you want to try out the capability of Series X or Series S, that is the test. That's the benchmark. So. I've seen some stuff going around at times. People are, hoping for a 60 FPS mode. It's not going to happen.
No.
Absolutely no
It
chance.
could. It probably could if you're running at 540p or something, I guess. But
Well, the thing is, it's really difficult because um, Flight Sim not only is heavily GPU bound, it's also simultaneously heavily CPU bound. It uses it maxes everything out, right? So that's the problem with it. That you might be able to say, well, I'll just drop the resolution, right? But if you have a look on Digital Foundry, and I've tried this myself, you can drop the resolution to 720p. You barely get any performance benefit
oh, really?
on Flight Sim.
Yeah,
you
I remember
an
seeing that
uptake of
video.
about-
It was fascinating.
yeah, you get 10 extra frames, if that. You don't get anything from it. And then you drop some of the CPU elements down as best you can. You don't get anything from that either. It just says, look, how much power have you got on your PC? I'm going to gobble all of that up now. That's all it does. So there's just no way that you're going to get a 60 FPS mode on consoles when you can batter this game with a 9900K and a 3080 like I have, and really struggle. I get 60 FPS sometimes at 4K, but usually it's running in the 40s. Do you know what I mean?
When you're up in the clouds, isn't it?
yeah, if you're up in the very no geometric detail, no city, just in the middle of Nevada in the desert, you can get about 60 FPS constantly. But anytime you hit a city, you hit Las Vegas, your frame rate tanks. So and also I should say, there's no need for 60 FPS in that game. It's just it's a simulation, right? There's no twitch about it or anything like that. It doesn't look particularly smoother when you have 60 FPS, as in you don't notice it compared to another title a shooter or something like that. It's not a big deal. So if they can get it at a reasonable 4K level, even if they have to upscale it from some res lower, but they can get it at high settings, it'll still be one of the best looking games that's launched on consoles since they've released. So it's a really fascinating. Series S, I'm absolutely fascinated to see what it looks like on that machine.
Well, we have a Series S owner in our midst now, don't we, Scott?
We do, yeah. I'm now I don't think I've ever bought multiple of the same console before, but I took advantage of that offer that game had, and because so one of the things I did when I got the Series X is normally I would trade my own console in, but this time I kept my One X to put in the office where I podcast from, as a secondary games console. So when the missus has taken over the 4K TV downstairs, I've got a console I can come play upstairs. But honestly, going back and forth between the Series X and the One X is genuinely quite a painful experience. You just don't get any of the convenience, quick resume, fast loading, things like that. It just feels like going back in time by a decade. It doesn't feel like just something that's only a couple of years apart. So for those who don't know, and I think Ballman Gamer put this in the chat earlier, so Game in the UK are doing an offer where you can trade an old console. You can get a Series S for as little as 40 quid if you trade in a Nintendo Switch. So I got a Series S for 50 quid trading in my One X. So yeah, I've got a Series X downstairs now and a One X upstairs in here with it. I've not played any games on it yet. If I'm being completely honest, I've just marveled at the bloody size of it, and that's about it. But I'll be excited to try that out. So when it does come out, look, I'll let you know. The biggest concern that I've got is how much I'm actually going to be able to fit it on, because even at 83 gig, that's a significant portion of the 380 odd that it's got on there. I think I installed about 5 or 6 games on the internal one when I booted it up for the first time, and I pretty much filled it straight away, which was always my concern with the Series S, to be perfectly honest. So but yeah, looking forward to try it out. Just booting it up, it was obvious that it was a leap in generation, just from how responsive it was. To just the UI, something simple as the UI is just so much more responsive. So yeah, hopefully have more to say on that in the future.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, you'll have to be our man on the inside and let us know how Flight Sim runs on it, because I am intrigued. Because we've used that as the benchmark, haven't we? Like Luke was saying, it's the benchmark game on the least powerful next gen machine, and just to see how that kind of marries up, really.
Can I just butt in with the optimization for this game?
Yeah, go
on. I've been toying with this game for ages, trying to get it to run better, but everything you touch in the settings, it doesn't bring the frames up at all.
No, it's yeah.
Like, imagine this. I've got a gaming laptop, right? So it gets loud when you give it a full force. So my CPU is running at 5.1 gigahertz. Right, so it's literally running at full whack. I've got a 3070, and I can get 1440p high settings. So high settings, I can get about 30 FPS. If I put it on ultra, I'll get about 25, which you can really feel.
Even that's not so bad. Wow, I'm surprised you're getting that.
But if I drop it down to 1080p instead of 1440p, it still only goes like 32 frames. Does it? It doesn't go up at all.
Yeah,
It's straight. It's really strange.
It doesn't move the needle.
Is that on 8 gigs of RAM?
Yeah, I've got 32 gigs of RAM on this.
32 gigs of RAM. Wow.
Yeah, one point as well, just to jump in, which I was going to suggest, which I was going to say, which Flap you reminded me of, is that when I originally got Flight Sim and tried to run it on my current rig, I had 16 gigs of RAM, and when I was running it in 4K, not only was it taking nearly all of my VRAM, it was taking most of my system RAM. So I actually had to upgrade. I actually had to upgrade to 32 gigs to get it to run at 4K above 40 FPS at ultra settings, because if I didn't, it would either freeze after like 10 minutes of play because it was just occupying too much RAM, or it would crash as it was trying to boot into a flight mid-flight. So that's how demanding. So there's how the Series S is gonna do it with a how much is it? Oh, is it 8 total pool or 10 or 12? No, it's 12. 10.
Yeah.
So and that's a pool of VRAM plus system RAM. So it's going to be fascinating. I mean, I'm sure they'll do a good job. It's not going to be a disaster. I'm just more curious than anything else to see what it looks
absolutely.
like.
And to be honest,
I might post a picture of a melted Series S at some point. To be honest, so it'll just be a white pile of melted plastic. Don't try to boot it up. So
I reckon 1080-30 the Series S.
With that level of optimization that they're going to have to do on the Series S, that's probably going to have benefits on the PC as well, I guess. So even if you have to run it on a lower spec PC, or you can run it at a higher frame rate on a higher spec PC, but it's going to be fascinating to see how that game sort of pans out, and it's also going to be fascinating to see it run on PCs and perhaps consoles in the next 5 to 8 years, and just see how that game actually runs then, because it is very much a game of the future, it seems, and it's got so much scope in it that, like you say, unless you've even with a monster rig nowadays, you're not going to be getting massive frame rates out of that game until the hardware's kind of caught up with it, which is an odd way around. It doesn't tend to work that way around, but
it's the new crisis.
It's the new crisis. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
fantastic.
My only gripe with the game is that I usually only get time to play games at night time, and every time I've gone on flight sim to fly from UK, it's always in the dark because it runs in real time. I always have to fly from like America or something where it's still daylight.
You can turn that off, can't you? Yeah, you can change the time of day.
Can you?
Yeah, you can do a full custom setting. You can do whatever times, weather, conditions. Yeah,
you have to create a custom flight, I think, and then you can change all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
you can change loads of different things.
I'll have a go at that in a minute then.
Yeah.
I tend to do I do silly ones. I do Heathrow to Gatwick just to practice flying a sort of a commercial airliner and stuff, and just getting all of that correct. But I've always liked the flight sim games. But well, fantastic. That kind of wraps up our show for today. Chat, you've been fantastic, but I am conscious that we haven't come to Puxley, and we do have one order of business left to attend to. So Pux, let's do the draw, shall we?
Yes, definitely. So I shall go through the potential winners, and then I shall spin the wheel. So we've got Adam C, UK Dazarus, Pyro M, Leon Crackles, Dragon Wolf, Tugrangula, and Invader Gaming. One of you people will be the lucky winner. So click to spin. Let's spin the wheel.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please.
For everyone get picked up.
Good luck,
and
everyone.
The winner is Invader Gaming.
Fantastic. Congratulations. We will whiz over the code after the show. Are you following us on Twitter? I would prefer to send you the code on Twitter. So make yourself known on Twitter to us at GPG_crew, and I will get you the code Invader Gaming. Fantastic. Congratulations. Brilliant. Okay, well, that kind of wraps up the show. What a show this has been. I've really enjoyed today's show. Always a pleasure having you on, Mr. Tushi. Let's just do our quick rounds of closeouts first, I guess. Mr. T, thank you for being on the show. As you say, you've been on it a number of times, but it's been a long time since, and great having you on as always. How have you found it?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been nice. My mind's gone bloody blank now. Yeah, it's been great to come back on again. It's been too long. Hopefully I can come again on soon.
Wish can. Well, where can we find you during the week? Because I know you are on Stubbs Gaming's show.
Yes, you can find me on Stubbs Gaming's channel for midweek gaming every Wednesday at 10 p.m. UK. I think that's 5 p.m. EST, is it? I'm no good with time zones.
Yeah, they're 5 hours behind EST. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you can also find me on Twitch as Mr. Tushy Gaming, the same as on YouTube, exactly the same. You find me on Twitter as Mr. Tushy as well. You can usually see me anywhere, really. You can also find me on Xbox, PS4, and PC and Switch, all as Mr. Tushy, and the Switch is all loads of numbers, which I ain't got a clue what they are.
Yeah, they do that, don't they? Excellent. And how about your community gaming nights?
Oh, it's getting crazy busy. We've had to have 2 hosts now, so we can run 2 parties.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. So what sort of games do you play? I mean, you play lots of kind of games, don't you?
Yeah, we try and find games that are usually popular, what everyone owns, or what's in Game Pass. So it's easy for everyone to join in for a cheaper cost. We play games like Halo, PS5. We played Siege this weekend and Wreckfest. Forza Horizon 4 was on Saturday night as well. Friday night, sorry. It's good fun. It's good.
Fantastic.
We had over 30 people over the weekend turn up this week.
Did you? Wow. Yeah, I've been along to a few of them. Unfortunately, Saturday nights aren't great for me, to be honest, or Fridays. But the ones I have come along, I've had an absolute blast at. And funny enough, I think it was after one of our Halo tournament shows I came along, and you guys were playing Halo 5, and I got my arse handed to me because I was not used to Halo 5 and the pacing of the game. It was quite nuts, actually. But no, it's absolutely great, and many familiar faces. And no, absolutely. If you haven't checked that out, and you've got a spare Saturday or Friday night for free, yeah, check it out. Excellent.
It's good. It's good fun.
Yeah, Scott, thank you for being here, my friend. How have you found the show?
Loved it as always, Flap. Thanks again for having us on. Obviously, first time I think me and Mr. Tushi have crossed paths. Okay. I do remember Mr. Tushi. I think he appeared on the was it like the Christmas or New Year special? I don't think I was around for that one if I remember rightly, because it's one of the few podcasts that I remember you guys doing with video. I think that's right. So obviously it's been a pleasure chatting with Mr. T, as you call him. Just saw Indy put in the chat, Mr. T, I pity the fool, which always gets a giggle out of us when you say Mr. T, Flap. But yeah, it's been a pleasure as always.
I'm the only one that calls him Mr. T, but yeah. Luke, thank you for being my friend. I know you've been busy. You've had work ticking along in the background and stuff. Great gameplay footage. Really appreciate seeing what your rig is capable of pumping out. Now, in all honesty, it was Metro Exodus and obviously Doom Eternal that was on your rig. This is Second Extinction, actually running on the Series X, and this looks pretty fantastic as well, actually. But no, thank you for the gameplay footage. Looks fantastic, and thank you for being on the show. Hope you had a good one.
Oh yeah, always, yeah, very much so. It's been a nice kind of distraction to other work related stuff, which has been great actually. Feel quite refreshed, and it's a Monday tomorrow, so even better.
It's a bank holiday Monday.
Bank holiday Monday. So so no, it's awesome. Always, great to hear from Mr. Tushi and you guys, as you know. So it was incredible.
Excellent. I do love what we've got going on here. And I mean, in terms of our regular panel, our guests and our chat, it's such a pleasure to do this show. We absolutely love it. Sometimes there's quiet news weeks and you have to kind of make stuff up. Other times, news comes your way. And obviously, we are literally staring down the barrel of probably one of the largest E3s that we've had in a long time, in the fact that, I guess tail end of last year and perhaps last year's E3 to a certain degree, that the consoles themselves were kind of stealing the show a little bit, and even the 30 series GPUs on PC and stuff, they were kind of stealing the show a little bit. But now they're out and they're launched, and I know there are still difficulties getting hold of them, but lots of people have these next gen consoles. It's now all about the games and what they can do with those, and it's such an exciting time. And we will certainly be covering E3 as much as we can. Chat, we'd love you to get involved in those kind of things. If there's any questions you want us asked on the podcast, just let us know. More than happy to field those. Puxley, thank you for being here, my friend. We've got another winner to our competition. So congratulations, Invader Gaming. I will try and get hold of you on Twitter. Pux, did you have a good one?
Yes, I did. You know what? I know we kind of mentioned this pre-show, I should say, but I know, given it's bank holiday, we kind of did wonder, most people might be away, maybe not tuning in, which isn't a problem, of course. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see that, we've been hitting up to 30 people watching tonight. I know we've got a lot of regular listeners overseas as well. So to all of you, thanks ever so much once again for tuning in. We very much appreciate having you here. You always make the show great, as we always say. You are our, I'll say 5th panel member. How many do we have on the show now? 5 now, so 6th. You're our 6th panel member tonight. So as always, so no, thank you all very much for being here. But yeah, really enjoyed the show tonight. Love the topics, and we didn't even go through, I think, half of what we originally was going to go through. So that's another set of topics for the back pocket until next time, I guess. So
absolutely.
can't wait.
I like that. I like it when sometimes there's topics we just don't cover because we're discussing the ones that we are covering, and I absolutely love that. Chat, you've been fantastic. You always are. You guys in the chat, absolutely love having you along for the ride with us as well. Please hit that like button. Please, if you're new to the channel, there was a few new names in the chat, as there always is every week. We topped out at 36 viewers this week. It's not about the numbers, but it is absolutely pleasurable to see our channel climb and grow as it does, and we like bringing new people on board. And I remember, some of the people that we frequently chat with in the chat on the show. I remember reaching out to those people on Twitter and stuff, and you start building friendships and communities, and we absolutely love seeing it growing. It's so much fun to be part of this. Thank you very much, everyone. It's always a pleasure. There may be a slight change to the agenda on next week's show. We may have to go live on the Saturday, as I'm not around on the Sunday, but we obviously want to try and capture the pre-E3 excitement. So we'll probably be around on the Saturday next week, but keep your eye on Twitter and on YouTube, and we'll let people know about it. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you on the next one.